Even though only 9 rounds are in the books for Season 11, because of the doubleheader format, the checker flag has waved 17 times. So far this season, there has been 10 different winners. A few rounds back at Mossport, rookie phenom Giovanni Cortese actually accomplished the rare double, winning both the feature and sprint races. But the lion's share of the victories have gone to the 2-time champion and well on the way to his 3rd crown, René Oosterkamp. Racing for SimRacing, the German has claimed 4 wins, and more impressively, all of them have been either feature race wins or big point single event wins. If you're a fan of watching excellence, then you are going to enjoy watching René Oosterkamp take to Detroit's Belle Isle. It's round 10 of Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship, and you can witness all the action from this doubleheader event live as it happens right here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. From the hometown of Eminem, Stevie Wonder, and Sonny Bono, hello and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. Joe Peak joins yours truly, Bill Soupçon, to bring you all our bird's eye view. Dougie Beard is the camera artist, and Sean Ambrose has director duties. Joe, Sebring's Sunset Bend has the reputation of being iRacing's bumpiest corner. When the driver briefing was posted in the AOR forum this week, it cautioned the drivers that Detroit is like Sunset Bend all the way around.
Yeah, that's probably the most accurate way to describe this place. The Midwest has some of the most torturous temperature swings from summer to winter when it comes to any sort of pavement. So the results for public roads is what the drivers will be wrestling with today. It's kind of amazing that IndyCar has been coming here as many years as they have, and it's a testament to the steel nerves of those drivers. Because while Sebring is bumpy, it's also got lots of places for runoff. The 2.3 miles around this circuit is almost totally lined with concrete barriers, so bumps that unsettle the car enough for you to spin almost always mean a repair bill. Thankfully, unlike a lot of American street circuits, the 14 turns are not mostly 90-degree corners. There's a varied mix of sweepers and kinks that'll keep you on your toes. Probably the most notorious of those corners is now the exit of Turn 2, which saw a very embarrassed Chevy executive destroy one of their Corvette pace cars when he underestimated it. And if a pace car has trouble navigating there, imagine how scary it is for these little Formula Renaults trying to hustle through here at full speed. It's narrow, it's punishing, it's bumpy, and we could keep listing adjectives all day, but honestly, I don't think it'll get it across as well as simply watching it from the driver's perspective. So let's hop on board the GSRC Lap Guide. All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Renault, so let's do a lap around Detroit. You probably won't see a whole lot of passing down into Turn 1 because this is a relatively fast set of S's. The important thing here is to watch the car over the hump on the exit, which can easily cause you to lose control. And yet there's a lot of pressure to get on the power early. The heavy braking into 3 makes it ideal for passing, but be careful not to overshoot it, because even though you've got the escape road, if you try to make the corner, there's very little space to the outside to save the car. After that, you've got a short burst of 4 where you can actually take it at a fairly fast clip. But then, as it switches into 5, it's the opposite, narrow, off-camber, and with a tightening exit. Then there's no time before 6, where a little rise at the entry tends to cause some frustrating understeer. Much like the exit of 2, powering off this corner can make or break your lap. You're going to try to straight line the little bends on the backstretch, and then it's important to line up your braking for 7. This is about the only other safe place to attempt to pass, but it's still incredibly difficult to pull off. It also leads into the fountain section, which, if you're smart, will be pretty much single file all the way through. You'll need to display some patience with the throttle as it leads up towards 11, since it's one of the slowest corners on the track and really needs you to get a nice wide entry. Careful on the throttle because the bumps at the exit will cost you some traction, and then prepare yourself for 12 and 13. The precision needed here is immense because you can't clip the inside curbs, but you also have no space to swing wide because of the concrete walls right at the edge of the circuit. From there, you're home free on your way to the line since it's flat out through 14, but hopefully you've now finished a lap around Detroit.
There's a lap around Belle Isle. You know, iRacing may want to consider implementing a simulated dentist office for their next build for all the drivers that maybe had some fillings loosened after a lap around Detroit. All right, let's let Joe take a lap around the festive day honors from Zan
And it was consistency that won the day, but very good consistency, fast consistency. Look at that, 2 second places for Kessler. Makes him the best of day. And Rene Oosterkamp, with that first win, helped himself out. But, man, problems in that second race right towards the end of it meant he only could get 9th. And he could have easily taken the best of day there if he'd just finished a couple positions higher. Kerry Nolden finished 7th in the feature, but managed to win the sprint, and that's what gets him that high up, although a few points back from Oosterkamp. Just barely ahead of Lubomir Morris, which again proves, and I'm going to harp on this all the time, consistency, consistency, consistency. 5th and a 6th, and he manages to make the top 5 here in the best of day. And then rounding it out, of course, is Alain Tessier from France. Bill, what about the overall points? So what does that do there?
Yeah, the GSRC stat boys, Simon and Poindexter, allow us to show you these numbers that take into account the 3 dropped events allowed for in the rules. Just to clarify something we don't talk about, when we talk about dropped events, they have to drop the entire weekend. It's not just a sprint race or a feature race. It's the entire results from both events. Now, Joe showed you Patrick Kessler earning best of day honors. Will that translate to the defending champion jumping 3 spots, now up into 3rd? Sandwiched between Kessler and his SimRC teammate, Rene Oosterkamp, is Kerry Nolden for AOR Orange. Nolden's teammate, Phil Reed, falls to 5th, just behind Positive SimRacing Green's Lubomir Morris. Nolden and Kessler have burned all their drop insurance, so a bad result is going to be costly. Let's go ahead and look at the team championships now. Last round, this commentator did his very best to hype the team championship, but Kessler and Oosterkamp went 1-2 in the best of day rankings to suck what little drama there was left in these standings. Right now, you see them well out in front. Their gap is now 60 points. They actually doubled that from what it was last time over Team AOR Orange of Phil Reed and Kerry Nolden. If Reed and Nolden have any hopes of getting to the lead, they're going to have to pull a couple rabbits out of their hats. Stefan Herman and Simon Grossman, they combined for, get this, 0 points as Zandvoort. SimRC Retro holds station in 3rd, but now a whopping 150 points back out of the lead. Because of that, Alexei Sorokin and Lubomir Morris could get PSR Green back on the podium spot. Charlie Summers and Daniel Morris hang on in 5th. All right, Joe, we've talked about the track, gone over the points. How about the details?
Well, this is going to be the feature race, this is series details. There's going to be a feature race and a sprint race. We're doing the feature up first. We'll talk about that in a second. These cars are open setups. Around here, the reason that's important, you actually do want to raise the ride height and soften the springs of these cars, just like they do in real life to deal with those bumps. Bump bottoming out is bad news. They also have no fast repairs here in this series, so you really got to play careful with those walls. You can clip them and seriously damage the car since these are open wheelers. Now, this race specifically is going to be 40 minutes long. It's the longer of the 2. And the grid is set sequentially, and that is going to be important because qualifying looks like it might get shaken up a little. I've seen a couple drivers hit the wall in their qualifying. Since they only get 3 laps, well, that takes away significant opportunities to try and move yourself up the grid. We'll go over who's gotten shaken up in a moment. They do have 1 scheduled pit stop during this race, and that is not because of limited fuel. The fuel tanks are what they are in the real cars, so they can go quite long. However, they have to pit before the final lap. Of course, they have an incident cap of 15 out here. And the points are awarded up to 32 for the win and 1 point down for 20th place. They will regrid the cars for the sprint race, of course, but that's only if you finish within 2 laps, and that is only down to 20th place. But the reason that's important here at Detroit, Bill, is if you wreck early, especially with 23 cars out there gridding up, it looks like today, if you're one of those 3 cars who wrecks early, you're not going to get regrid, and you're going to have to climb through a whole lot of fast cars.
Absolutely. 23 names on the entry list. 21 were able to put in qualifying times. And qualifying is just about done. We're still looking at one lone driver here trying to put in. I think actually his qualifying is done. That's Evan Rolling Thunder Imre. He's currently in 20th position. Not sure if his qualifying is done. He's just out there putting in some practice. He's got a little bit of time before the clock runs out. I don't think he's going to be able to get that in. So with this being a standing start, And qualifying is all done. Let's go to the grid right now, and we'll bring that up for you. And it is a familiar front row of René Oosterkamp and Patrick Kessler. Row 2 is Lubomir Morris, Dominic Gatermeyer. Hey, that's a kind of high placing for him. Stefan Herman and Leonard Sherry go 5th and 6th. Phil Reed and Luke Barton are going to fill up the next row. Ali Hay, and there he is. We talked about him doing the double. Gio Cartesi in 10th.
Behind them, one of the drivers who bounced off the wall in qualifying and is not looking good, Kerry Nolden, only 11th. Alexei Sorokin next to him in 12th. Then it's David Boudelaar starting 13th. Christopher Rigby in 14th. Elaine Tessier 15th. He's got a lot of work to do compared to last week. Connor Ryan will be 16th at the drop of the green with Tom Van Horn in 17th and Tim Matsky P18. Then the next row is David Santana 19th and Evan Imre 20th. Last of the field, Loic Barbie, the last one to put in a qualifying time. Daniel Morris 22nd and Urkel Lindstrom. Both those two did not get times in.
They're taking the grid. The weather today very pleasant. Should be a good day to go racing. Not too hot, not too cold. 21 drivers were able to put in qualifying times. We're going 40 minutes. This is round number 10 of season 11. And it is those familiar Swiss cheese colored machines of René Oosterkamp and Patrick Kessler filling up the front row for SimRC. That team crushing it in the points championship for the teams. Hopefully we can get everybody through this first little chicane that's coming up, this little right-left chicane, and then the long straight down into the best passing zone down into corner 3. All the drivers getting ready to go. 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the clutch, the other foot on the brake. You can hear the engine starting to rev. Gather at the chicken steak, cover me on the cows. The horses are out of the barn. And it is René Oosterkamp leading his teammate, Patrick Kessler, down into the first corner. Lubomir Morris, Dominic Gatermeyer in 4th. And then Stefan Herman being chased by Phil Reed.
All right, they're cleanly through 1 and 2 for the first one. This can also get piled up down into 3 here, especially because everybody's eager to make moves, and it narrows up on the exit, Bill. It's pretty dangerous.
So far, they are clean. Let's knock on wood and see if that happens. They work their way through the twist. You say, oh, we've lost one little car. He's going to gather it up. It was Luke Barton. Yep.
He did really good to keep it pointed forward. I think he did hit the wall a little bit, but doesn't look like he's too damaged because he's staying at pace.
Was really late under braking, almost got into the back of Leonard Sherry, locked it up, kind of sacrificed himself so he didn't take out the entire field.
This is another dangerous little part through the fountain section. Everybody's good into turn 7 where a lot of problems tend to happen because it's one of the other few good places to try and pass around here. But it's also really bumpy, and the braking for 11 that you see them coming out of, Bill, it's really tricky to get the car woed up into there.
Front 3 start to stretch out. It's Lubomir Morris who might be the cork in the bottle. Stefan Herman right behind him, Phil Reed. Those 3 race for 4th, 5th, and 6th, nose to tail.
Remember I said Kerry Nolden was a bit out of position. Whoa, as we see a few challenges. Oh, and one of them ducking off into the pits early. Who was that? Looks like Luke Barton trying to get his damage repaired.
Coming out of the fountain section, he put it in the wall. So it's a second incident on lap number 1.
Wow, look at this action on screen. That was Phil Reed being overtaken by Morris and Herman. We're going to thankfully get it sorted out here by 4. But boy, the middle of the pack is really anxious to try and make spots while they can because it's so difficult to pass here.
Herman, we're going to stay on this battle. Herman starts to pull away. This is Morris now under attack. Phil Reed looking around here. I was thinking that Morris wasn't the fastest car out there. Look at Reed trying to duck inside, and he's going to get it finished yet.
Ooh, Morris cut it really close with those tires, trying to give him a little bit of space, and he did that with good reason. There's sort of a preservation factor. If someone's already got a nose in, you really don't want to push it too hard. Oh, just as Reed did there. Oh, he clattered that hard.
He was on the gearbox of Herman, and then, boy, he hit it hard, didn't he?
Yep, I expect we're going to see him coming in as well. Probably going to have to take some repairs. Oh, wow. He's staying out. Oh, this is gutsy. I guess he thinks that the car's still driving well enough, but man, I would have thought that he damaged the suspension with that clobber.
He's down into 6th now, just ahead of Sherry and Hay. Here comes Sherry, though, making a move. It did not have, Reed's car did not go in that straight line. But he fights with momentum on the outside, holds Sherry off.
Yeah, well, it's not as damaged as I would have thought. Now, we can't see a whole lot. There is a little bit of wing damage there. It's because he hit it side on that we might not be able to see any of that suspension damage, if there is any. We'll see what kind of pace he can hold up. Ooh, we think we had an incident with Van Hoyman and Matsky.
Yeah, poor Van Hoyman lost the car, put it in the wall. Matsky had nowhere to go. This is in 2, and then Matsky just found him. Oh, and Matsky took a tumble.
Oof. And another car hit. I'm trying to figure out who that is. Urkel Lindstrom, actually. Ooh, there's a typically fast driver that definitely had a bad day there. Here's the replay. Yeah, this is the absolute worst scenario for this, other than maybe hitting the wall first. You can see he spun it out. That's right on the racing line. That's where cars are understeering because of that hump. You can see Matsky find himself just launched into the air.
The other car that got a piece of that went by was first on the scene was Urkel Lindstrom. So Lindstrom, Matsky, and Van Hoyman all involved in that one. All right. Now, Phil Reed has come into a pit stop, Joe, and this is not so bad. This is still in the pit window because of the rules. He does be getting damage fixed, and he'll be good to go the distance.
Exactly. So he is in and out, and hopefully he's had a little bit of time to get some damage repaired, which actually looks like he elected not to. So only an 8-second stop. Meanwhile, up in 6, still Sherry leading Hay. And actually, whoa, is that Cortese slow? Not seeing damage on Cortese. Did he actually touch the wall out of 6 here? Oh, I think he did. Oh, I think he clipped it on the inside, maybe.
We'll go back a little bit and take a look at this one, and we'll watch on top of his helmet. There it is.
Usually it's the outside that drivers worry about at a turn 6, Bill. He got a little bit too greedy. There is a bit of an urge to try and turn in early because there's a slight little crest just as you come into that corner, and I think that's what he did. Is he just pushed it a little bit too far doing that.
We haven't talked about the leaders much, so let's check in on them real quick. Osterkamp opened up a nice little gap on his teammate, but Kessler's been able to stick with him, only a 1.5 seconds back. The guy that really deserves some love right now is Dominic Gatermeyer. Boy, he is really hitting above his weight class right here. What a great run in 3rd in a feature race. He must love Detroit.
Well, and I think this is just pace in general because, again, he qualified in 4th.
Yep.
So he's holding it down and showing that was not a fluke. Trying to look and see what happened to Kerry Nolden, where he is, because remember, he qualified low and he tends to be a fast driver.
There we are. Maybe we can check in on a nice battle. This is again for 6th position. This is Sherry being chased by Ali Hay, and then Cortese trying to make up for that earlier mistake. Won't be long till Alexei Sorokin gets into this one as well. Oh, and Cortese's loose again. And that's going to lose all his momentum, and here comes the Russian driver of Sorokin going by.
Yeah, you want a really stable set. You really don't want it to be flirting on the edge around here because we've already seen you're going to gain a lot of positions if you just try and stay out on the track and hold your own. So Cortese, whatever's wrong with his car, this is not good. It sounds like Rigby's had issues.
Rigby lost it himself. This is in the final corner.
Well, the final corner you really have to do anything for. This is 13. Yeah. There is 14, but that's flat out easily. Now, Remember I talked about there's very few times where you spin the car and you get away without damage. I think Rigby needs to buy a lottery ticket here.
That's not a lot of room to spin the car. I guess the good news is he spun the car, didn't hit anything until he tried to do his Y turn.
Yeah, got a little bit of damage, but came immediately in to get repairs done. I went to check on what happened in Olden, who unfortunately looks like he is going to be at the very tail end of the next race. He did the exact same thing Cortese did, except he hit it a lot harder on the inside of 6, and well, he also went for a tumble. Car went flying, and he took a DNF in this first feature race.
We're going to check in on about a little farther back, 12th position. We're not going to stay on it too long. David Santana racing in 12th is being chased by Evan Imre. Imre up 7 spots. Same for Santana.
Yeah, Imre's qualifying wasn't too hot. First lap was okay, and then he managed to go a little bit faster in the third, but didn't count the second one. Must have been another one that maybe touched the grass just slightly somewhere. And he's making up for it.
We'll keep an eye on them as the pit stops come in and see how they cycle out.
Got a little bit of a train forming up in the middle of the pack, though. Lubomir Morris is being chased by the likes of Sherry, Hay, Sorokin, and Cortese. And this isn't something where they're too far behind. I think they really are legitimately being held up by Lubomir here.
Yeah, I think Morris was an overachiever when it came to qualifying because he qualified 3rd. He wasn't able to stay with the leaders. Attrition has kind of helped him a little bit as some of the guys that have passed him or were about to pass him have had trouble. But right now, here they come. Sherry, Hay, Sorokin, Cortese.
Yeah, Sherry had a bad entry into the fountain section this time by outbraked himself. And that meant Ali Hay is more on top of him than Leonard is on top of Lubomir. But unfortunately, not in a good place to try and pass. There's very little braking here up into the first corner, this right-hander. It's basically 4th or 5th gear.
But I think Hay's in pretty good position. If a good drive out of 2, and she doesn't get a tremendous drive out to make a run down into 3. I think he's too far back.
Yeah, just way too far back into here. In fact, Sherry's started to recollect himself. Whoa! You got to be careful doing that. Out-braking yourself around this track is really bad news because understeering wide on the exit of it or losing it under braking, like I've said, you're almost guaranteed to find some sort of damage out of that. And if you're in a train like this, Bill, it's extra bad news because everybody behind you is just piling in because they have no time to react.
Let's look at 8th, a little farther back. That's Cortese going to make the move on Sorokin. On the outside, this is a tough corner. Can he stay off the wall? He does.
Nice job by both of those guys. That cost him a little bit of time. Let's see what Cortese can do. He showed pace at Zandvoort and at other tracks before that, so I think it's not going to take him long before he gets to the back of Hay.
Well, he's been fast this race, so he's just made a collection of mistakes. Best racing right now going on here between 5th, 6th, 7th, and then back between Cortese and Sorokin. In fact, Sorokin's had enough. He's going to come in. Really the first of our front runners to make a stop.
Probably a smart move, honestly. We've got a lot of cars who've had problems, so I think, or have already taken pit stops, so he's probably going to come out in clear air.
Might have been feeling that he could run faster by himself than in that mess that he was in.
Absolutely.
Let's check in on 3rd real quick. We've talked about Dominic Gatermeyer. Little by little, Stefan Hermann has been running him down. The gap is now just a tick over a second. The German driver is coming.
2/10 chopped off last time by, which around a track like this, that's not a whole lot. I mean, they're relatively short laps. We're looking at 124s, 125s.
Right on board with Herman looking up. And this may be a case, Joe, where Herman, if he gets to Gatermeyer and can't get around him, or he may want to come in and take that stop as well. With a relatively small field for AOR standards, lap traffic shouldn't be as big of a factor. And I guess that's a good thing on this track.
And 12th place just changed hands. That's because that's Phil Reed trying to make that recovery from the early pit stop. He has caught some traffic. That was Evan Emre he got by, and now look at this, already climbing over the back of Santana. So this is costing him a fair bit of time. And here's bad news for Alexei Sorokin, who we just saw pit. He's quickly approaching this group, so he's really going to want these guys to pit soon so that he doesn't have to have the same pain.
If remember, we checked in on this battle. This was between Santana and Emre. Emre had followed Santana through the field, but now Reed trying to make up. But here's the interesting thing, Joe, as we look at Reed, he's good to go. So we talked about Sorokin making that stop, but really Reed's the guy who's the leader of all the cars who've pitted, can go the distance.
Exactly. Now, he got a good run, but I don't know that he's quite close enough. He's going to have to be very deep on the brakes. Too deep, maybe? Oh, wow. I thought he was hitting the tires there, but he judged that perfectly.
Van Hoyman has... Oh! Can we go...
Sorry, Phil Reed had a huge error coming through 5, but he kept it together. That car was really sliding. I don't know if we could see it because I think the trees maybe blocked it on the camera, but oh, that scared me. That was just the end of it. Let's watch it one more time here. Watch him have to catch this thing. That was a monster catch.
Reed now up to 11th. Leader of all the cars who pitted.
While we watched that, Sorokin did get by Emre, still working on Santana. Ooh, Cortese just made a move, and was that Ali Hay actually hitting the wall? Yeah, just caught the tires. Oh. Looks like he's going to get away with it because he's still going, and it doesn't look like his pace is too hurt. But this was set up coming down to the place you'd expect. Out of 2 into 3. He tried to cover off the inside. Oh, no, that was actually Hay trying to make the move on Cortese.
Yeah, it was Hay going around the outside. Cortese took the defensive line. I'll tell you, corner number 3 is one of the more frightening corners on iRacing. Really, there is just no room for error there. And it's such a late braking zone if you want to try to do anything.
Well, that's what makes it so precarious as a place to try and pass, is you really got to be confident on where you're braking offline. Everybody kind of has their markers when they're on the racing line and where to brake, but you really need to practice what it is when you're off to the right a little bit so that you don't brake too late and really screw things up, as we watch the likes of Santana and Sorokin go at it now.
You know, right in front of our leaders, we don't need to go there. Luke Barton just had a spin off of 2, was sitting in the middle of the road, and both Osterkamp and Kessler had to go around him. They managed to do it okay.
Ryan Pitts. This battle's getting good. Look at how close he's riding. Just got to get a good run over the hump. Oh, he's got it, absolutely. Look at that. He even sticks his nose in on the thin part. There's a bit of a half-hearted defense from Santana, but he didn't cover him off completely as he tries to maybe outbrake him. Just not good enough. Beautiful move by Sorokin. And you know, it's not just the attack that you got to worry about there, Bill. It's also the defense.
Let's go to Luke Barton right now. Can you get a replay maybe 15 seconds ago? This is a big one. He's still trying to get the car turned around. This happened right in front of Christopher Rigby. This is a hard hit. Yeah, he'd been in the wall a few times. That's Gio Cortese in 6 was first on the scene of the guys up front. Luke maybe need to call this a day.
Whoever that was behind, was that Cortese directly behind him there? Because he got lucky, he went right underneath him when he slapped the wall. It's kind of an unusual way to have an accident around there with the rear coming out.
Yeah, I believe that was Christopher Rigby who actually almost went under the car. Now we look at Gio Cortese. That's Rigby up ahead who actually went under. You see him there?
Yeah, managed to stop off the racing line when he finished his tumble, thankfully. Luke Barton did bring it back around. Amazingly, the car was still going, but he is in the pits taking some serious repairs.
Before we jump into battle, could we look at 8th position? We just haven't really talked much about David Boutellard having a good run, up 5 spots. Hasn't had anybody to race with, but having a nice, quiet race, going to get some good points.
Now, some of those have been handed to him by other drivers pitting. Phil Reed and Alexei Sorokin should jump him once he gets in and out. But other than that, I think he'll slot into the likes of Ryan and Rigby.
I think we should check back in on the battle for 3rd. We've talked about it little by little. It is Stefan Herman running down Gatormeyer, but he's not doing it in leaps and bounds. It's just a little bit every lap.
Last lap was quite a bit more than a little bit because Herman was at 24.8. That's 4/10 slower than Gatormeyer's 25.2. That's almost half a second. That is a big chunk.
Go ahead, we've been jumping it around so much. Let's go ahead and stay on this one a while, see if the drivers will abide and not put the car in the wall. We can watch a little bit of racing here as Herman tries to run down Gatormeyer.
I love these onboards around this track. Not only does it give you an idea of how bumpy it is, but how narrow it is and how close the drivers have to get to the walls around here.
Now they work through the Fountain section. Starts with the right-hander.
This is mostly single file. There are cases where maybe someone has a serious issue or maybe you want to stick your nose in, but it's got to be a kind of a desperate situation because you really risk the car if you try to go side by side. These 2 corners, I think, are the sleepers. Not talked about as much, but the curbs to the inside of those, Bill, are very tall, so you can't touch them at all in these cars. And then on top of that, you got to take it right out to the edge where there's no runoff area on the exit of either corner. It's just concrete right there.
Now through 1 and 2. Now the run down into that scary passing zone, but Gatormeyer has a big enough lead. I think it's going to be able to hold off Herman.
Yeah.
So there's an entire lap that we took on those guys.
That was beautiful. And, you know, I was talking earlier about down there in the 3 where they just went through. It's not just the attack that you have to worry about breaking offline. It's the defense. And a great example of that, if anybody can go find it, go look up the finish of Detroit this year with one of the races on IndyCar on YouTube. And poor Rossi, who gave away a win simply by outbraking himself and locking the tires up. He could have defended easily for the remainder of the race, but just succumbing to the pressure, if you go in too deep there, you hand away so much. You got to really temper yourself.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our leader, Rene Oosterkamp. Doing what he does. Going to out there in front. And Kessler just staying close enough, Joe, that if Oosterkamp were to make a mistake, he'd be right there.
Yeah, and I think that's the key for Rene right now. He's got no traffic for quite a while. He's not going to run into anybody, so just hit your marks, just run your race, and maybe take a little bit of leeway when you try and get to the power coming off the corners, because, of course, we talk about outbraking yourself into it. It's also losing traction on the way out and the car behaving unpredictably. Now, it looks like Lubomir Morris has hit the pits.
So he comes in. I'd like to see if we can pick up Phil Reed. This will be interesting to see if Reed can... Reed is on the main straight right now.
I think he's going to jump him pretty easily, to be honest.
Yeah, Morris is still there. Reed goes by.
Morris is on a long stop. 12.5 seconds.
Yep. Sorokin gets by as well. So Morris comes out behind his teammate in 10th.
These drivers must be taking some sort of damage repair because Ali Hay had a 15-second stop, which is even slower than Lubomir.
Yeah, a normal stop should be anywhere between 6.5 to 7 seconds.
And critically, you can see, came out just in time. That's Loic Barbie just behind in 14th. And Loic hasn't taken his stop, so if he would have come out ahead of Ali Hay, that could have slowed down Ali a huge amount.
Okay, my gut tells me we need to go to third real quick because I got a hunch that Herman is going to make a move here. No, he's too far back. Boy, Stefan, try as he might. He gets closer through the twisty section. He loses a lot of ground through 1 and 2.
Yeah, and though these cars have a pretty good amount of downforce, they're not like Formula One cars or Indy cars. So they still lack a little bit of it. And when you get in the wake of the car ahead, it can get kind of hard to try and pass them. You still experience that, just like the big boys do. And I think that's what we're seeing with this Diaz driver. He's kind of caught in that no man's land where, yeah, he's close and he's gotten there, but he's having a really tough time getting that little bit closer to execute because his pace is not good enough to really be climbing all over the gearbox of Gatormeyer.
Herman probably has a pit plan. And I guess the last thing he would want to do is, is to come in and they get stuck behind traffic. So maybe he'll just stay out here and, I guess, he's in no danger of losing any spots. So I guess he'll just see if he can wait for a mistake, maybe.
Yeah, but he's been waiting behind him for a couple laps. I feel like if a driver ahead, you get a feel for who is cool under pressure and who is not. He kind of knows the way that Dominic is able to drive. So my advice, if I was on the box for Herman, would be to come in now. Because you can see out of there, he was getting close to him, but then just didn't get a good launch off him, too. Obviously, it's not working, so try something different, see if it works.
Leaders of all the cars who have pitted is Phil Reed. He is in 8th. He's got about 4 seconds on Alex Sorokin.
Love you. These onboard cams that really show you the suspension of these cars, how much they're working around here. Man, he gets right down there within about 3/10 and no closer, and that is not close enough, Bill.
And this has been going on for a long time. We don't need to go there. I just want to mention that Cortese is now up to 5th. Some of that is due to guys pitting in front of him, but I think he's going to be in pretty good shape. Leader is in.
That was Tom Van Hoyman that we see in the background trying to get himself righted, and he does. He is well down the order.
Kessler stays out, as do the drivers in 3rd and 4th, or it's going to be 2nd and 3rd, Gatormeyer and Herman. They're going to jump Oster. Tom Van Hoyman, this really is a news. He's had another spin. We don't need to go there. He's racing 18th.
We saw the end of it. We saw him trying to get himself turned around. There's Cortese in, and Boutelar follows him. Starting to see some of the front runners come in.
Now here comes Reed on the front straight. Cortese is rolling.
But he gets him. He's not past. He wasn't
Reed
past the
goes
cones
around.
in time.
Cortese does come out in front of Sorokin. So Phil Reed remains the leader of all the cars who've pitted. Oh, with the exception of, Rene Oosterkamp has made that stop. That's correct. Forget about Rene in so many different ways.
In fact, Rene has a pretty big gap over Phil Reed, which to me says that Phil probably won't go much higher than, I'd say, 7th today. So Cortese managed to jump Sorokin and all that. Alexi seems not interested in staying where he is, as he is really hot on the chase now.
Yeah, which is surprising me. I would expect Cortese to be able to pull away and maybe get up and challenge Reed, but Sorokin's having none of that. Hanging right there.
Seeing a lot of cars just about this distance apart from each other all day. Leave a lot of room at the apex of 13, though.
Remember, these drivers can put as much fuel in the car as they like. They just need to come in and make a stop for 2 tires.
Yeah, these guys just way too far apart down the stretch towards 3. Oh, something happened to Sherry. What did the Italian do?
Oh. And he spins right in front of Evan Imre and Ali Hay.
This is into 12. And wow, he actually, for as much curb as he had, that is a miraculous save to keep the car from getting damaged. But unfortunately, had to wait a long time. And actually, did he come in a second time now? Or was this the first stop for Sherry?
I think it's the first stop, I think, yeah.
Oh, just barely touched it. I spoke too soon.
Dominic Gatermeyer made the stop, but Herman did not. So instead of Herman pitting and trying to do the undercut, he's going to stay out there longer. And what is that, Joe? Is that the overcut?
That's what they call it. It is. I've heard that term used. It's a good opportunity for him because there's no traffic in front of him. He can just keep riding. And again, like we said, Bill, he can go all the way until he sees the white flag. Once he sees the white flag, he has to come in, or else if he stays out and pits on the next time by, that won't count. He'll be DQ'd.
Another driver who's staying out is Patrick Kessler.
Now, Kessler could actually manage to jump Osterkamp, depending on how things go. Let me actually look at their pace. Last time he wasn't faster than him.
Yeah, he's had a pretty easy run of it through traffic. I don't think Osterkamp's had to deal with too much.
And Herman's in. So Herman didn't wait long. He could have gone a little bit farther to try to stretch himself out. I'm kind of surprised by this. Gatermeyer's coming around 12 and 13 now.
This could be very close.
Gatermeyer crossing the line. Dominic's through 1. They're going to come out side by side, but he's got the momentum. Yeah, that was a serious strategic error by Stefan. He ought to stayed out much longer and run a few laps in clear air to see if he could jump him instead of doing it immediately. I think maybe he worried that the reverse would happen, that maybe Dominic would be faster than him. But yeah, I disagree with the 179's call here.
Another thing the drivers do sometimes, though, they don't put in enough fuel to go all the way. They put in enough fuel where they can take just enough and it won't cost them. So maybe that was as far as he could go.
That's very true.
Leader is in.
Yep. Kessler pits. Osterkamp's just coming out of the fountain section.
You know what? When I looked at where Herman was in relationship to Cortese when those guys pitted, I think Kessler's got a shot at this if he can get going here.
Osterkamp out of the final turn.
Kessler's rolling.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. Momentum once again on the side of Osterkamp. Wow, great heads up. Incredible heads up. It's going to be a drag race, Bill.
Kessler has the preferred spot. Osterkamp has to be careful because there's no room for air, and he's going to back out.
Wow. I can't believe Kessler pulled that off. I did not think he had that much pace over him. I thought maybe he would at least get it right up behind him, but didn't think he would be able to jump him.
Well, now we have just under 8 minutes of racing to go.
Sorry, I was watching the onboard. Osterkamp really had to correct the car coming onto the backstretch. But look at this battle between Cortese.
Oh my goodness.
Sorokin had a chance coming off the corners. Just a little wide, but I don't know how Gio hold on to that spot. If I was Alexi, I probably would have tried to stick my nose in with 3, but I guess or 4. I guess he's not quite as brave there.
Those two drivers have run away from Lubomir Morris in 8th. We talked about, we don't need to go there, David Butelar, where he would cycle out. He's in 9th.
This is the hardest fight, amazingly, because I would have thought the lead would be a little bit more intense, but these two really going at it. In fact, we got a few battles that we just kind of, into the wall for Cortese, and that one was hard enough. He's probably going to be slowed up.
Boy, he's had several mistakes. That's why he is back as far as he is. Alexei Sorokin takes advantage of that. Cortese now in 7th. He'll be lucky to hang on to that. The gap, 5 seconds back to Lubomir Morris. We'll see what Morris can do. Well, with that settling down, there's no shortage of other battles to look at. Maybe go to 3rd. This is one that we've just been watching the whole race. It's Dominic Gatormeyer ahead of Stefan Herman.
Now is when Herman probably needs to play kind of patient, which sounds weird because it's the end of the race, but you don't want to throw it away. He is in 4th. That's a good finish. So if you're in Stefan's shoes, I think the ship is sailed in terms of what you can do. It all comes down to if a mistake happens with Dominic, maybe just ride a little closely behind him, wait to see if he slips up in some way that gives you an opportunity and take advantage of that. But sticking your nose in a way that could throw the race away for both of you, probably ill-advised at this point, because the feature race, again, awards more points than the sprint race.
And Joe, I think you're onto something there. While they are very evenly matched and they've been close, we really haven't seen Herman even make a stab at it. It's just basically been following Gatormeyer around the whole time. What a great run from Dominic here. He's going to be really happy with this.
Here's what's weird is multiple times now we saw it there. Herman was much faster through 1 and 2. He gets right up behind him. It's coming off the corner that he seems to struggle. So I'm wondering if there's a setup difference between these guys that really is giving Dominic an easier time through that quick chicane.
5 minutes of racing to go. This battle's a little closer than it is up front. Kessler is really actually starting to distance himself now from Osterkamp.
Yeah, I went to try and investigate that, and I think it was traffic, like we're getting ready to see here, because it looked like he lost most of it when they tried to get around Loic Barbie.
Let's stay on the leaders because they're coming up behind Kevin Santana and Evan Imre. Remember, that's the battle we said we'd look at. Well, Imre now is ahead of Santana, but here comes the leaders. Kessler gets Santana.
Yeah, nice job by David pulling over when he did.
Osterkamp is way back now.
It's almost 2 seconds. It surprises me that once Kessler got ahead, once he broke away from him here, he's actually looking like he is a little bit faster on pace.
You know, let's look at P3. There's a Gatormeyer. And Herman, once again.
And it's the same deal as last time. He drops off after turn 2.
And actually, our director looks at the numbers. Through 1 and 2, the intervals, that's how our director knows where to go. It gets really small, but there is no drive from Herman off of 2 to give him any shot down the long straight.
Which has got to be frustrating because, again, that's one of the few places where you've really got a good shot. So I think that's something where he needs to be taking some mental notes and say, all right, let's set my car up to be stronger out of that corner because it'll give me a better chance. And they do have time to try and tweak the cars if they really dare for the sprint race. Don't get a whole lot of time to try and test them out. But it depends on how much you want to, how important you think it is to try and risk that.
Kessler, Osterkamp, Gatormeyer, Herman, and Phil Reed, your top 5. Reed is not challenged.
Just coming down to the dying stages here, so people are running out of chances.
Talked about Cortese and his interval back to Morris. It's about 3.5 seconds. He's lost a 1.5 seconds. Should be enough, not enough time for Morris to get up there.
Herman looked a little better that time as we ride on board because you can see he's closer. He knows it too. He ducked out of line just trying to play some psychological games, but Dominic's not having that. He took turn 3 just fine.
Herman might have to be creative here and maybe stop thinking about 3. Maybe try it into the Fountain section.
And that does offer an opportunity. He actually looked really strong. I'm kind of with you. This is where maybe I'd say try sending one up, go a little bit offline, see if you could rattle Dominic, but he's not very close. This is going to take a deep plunge. Yep, he's not going to take it.
He would really have to force the issue, really be a dive bomb. And we've watched Stefan race enough that that's really not his style.
Yeah, especially considering the way he's been running this race. I think he is just kind of sitting and waiting and saying, all right, if I'm going to get this spot, Dominic's going to have a big oops. And at this point, let's see, are we 2 laps to go, I think?
2 to go. And remember, the racing isn't over, so it makes it a little bit easier to sit back there because he's still got the sprint race ahead of him. Boy, he is right on him
good.
now.
Get off the corner.
Nope.
God, he was so close. He was close enough that Dominic was defending into the first corner. And again, it's so hard to pass into that turn that tells you how close he was, that Dominic felt he was threatened.
I really think we're looking at different setups that are making this racing really
Absolutely.
intriguing.
Absolutely. At this point, I'm convinced that's what's going on here between these two. Could be different gearing, could be different wing settings. Also, sometimes the differential plays a part in that build, because that can affect how loose the car is coming off the corner, and I wonder if maybe that might play a part in it.
Patrick Kessler. He raced behind René Oosterkamp for the first half of the race when Oosterkamp came in to make his pit stop. Kessler was able to stay out there, run a few hot laps, and make the pass. Kessler gets the white flag.
And this might be too little too late because he's 63 points behind René coming into this. That's especially with René having pocket points and Patrick not having them. He's got to hope for René to have some big issues multiple times in these last I guess 5 races.
Gatormeyer leads Herman through 3.
He wasn't close enough yet again. This turn 6, the exit to turn 6, is going to make or break whether or not he can do this. I score him under power. That's not going to be enough.
The leader has negotiated the Fountain section. Just has these 2 right-handers to do. He gets 1, gets 2. From here on, it's pretty straightforward. Let's give the feature race win to Patrick Kessler. Round 10 is going to go to René Oosterkamp in second. Let's look at Gatormeyer.
He's still ahead, but these corners have bitten people before. Let's see if he takes 12 and 13 safe.
On the throttle now. I think the finish line is going to come up before Herman can get there. He looks to the outside. Boy, that's the closest he had been, though, the entire race.
That was actually a pretty clever ploy. I give him credit. He knew that he was strong off of that corner, so he set himself up off of 13. Just it's not quite a long enough straight. It was a good try, but no cigar.
Reed takes 5th. Sorokin, Cortese. Morris is going to come in. Lubomir Morris in 8th. 11 cars finish on the lead lap. David Buttilar, Ali Hay, Connor Ryan, the last of that. The racing is over here, at least for the first part. But remember, this is the doubleheader. So we're going to come back between the events to run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers, and then we'll get everything ready for the sprint race to follow. Don't go far. Sanctioned by Apex Online Racing, you're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship, round number 10 from Belle Isle. The feature race is in the books. Let's give you the finishing order to that. Patrick Kessler, we mentioned it during the race, followed his teammate around for the first half. When Osterkamp came in to make the stop, Kessler stayed out, was able to fend him off on pit exit and run away. Patrick Kessler gets the win. Renee Osterkamp has to settle for second. Dominic Gatermeyer had Stefan Herman behind him for the entire race, holds him off, gets that final podium spot. Herman has to settle for fourth. Phil Reed makes a great comeback to get fifth. The back half of your top 10, Alexei Sorokin, Gio Cortese, after making several mistakes, I think he's going to be happy with 7. Lubomir Morris has to settle for 8th. David Boutilar had a very clean race in 9th. Ali Hay rounds out your top 10. Joe?
Connor Ryan was the last car to finish on the lead lap in 11th. And Evan Emre, despite a bad qualifying, this is a pretty good climb from 20th to 12th. David Santana, also not nearly as good, but still up a bunch of positions from 19th to 13th. And then Loic Barbie in 14th. Leonard Sherry finished in 15th with Christopher Rigby in 16th, and probably the car on pole, because the next car 2 laps down is Urka Lindstrom in 17th, Tom Van Hoyman DNF'd in 18th, Luke Barton as well 19th, and Daniel Morris 20th. Then you've got Tim Matsky 21st, Kerry Nolden 22nd, and Elaine Tessier 23rd. All cars very early in the race who were out. Bill?
With nobody ready to be interviewed, this gives Joe and I a chance to look at those standings. And we start to look from the bottom. If we assume Christopher Rigby will be on pole, where's our first real big name? Who do we think that might be tough in this inverted grid? Boy, Connor Ryan is always quick. I don't know.
I was going to say Ali Hay, I think, has a pretty good chance, because there's a relatively few cars being regrid. So I'd say, well, and Emre, don't forget Emre, he'll be up towards the front. Whenever he gets up at the top, he tends to be a tough nut to crack.
He does indeed. He likes these sprint races, and he races clean, but he races tough. He was in that battle with David Santana for most of the race. That'll be fun to look at. And then we never mentioned Loic Barbie. We've seen Barbie be quick as well. And Sherry is fast also. So it's going to be fun. You will not want to go far. The sprint race is going to be interesting. Well, with nobody to interview and with us done talking about the finishing order, let's take this opportunity to take another break. Don't go far. We'll be back for the sprint race. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of AOR's Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. This is in the books. It's been put to bed. Joe, what happens next?
Well, the sprint race, which around here is going to be pretty hairy if we're honest. The last race being 40 minutes, this one only 25, and here's why it's so crazy. They've inverted the grid from the top 20 that finished within 2 laps. In this case, I believe it's 16 cars will be inverted. That's bad news for some of our fast drivers who did wreck out early because they're going to have even more hard work to do. There are no pit stops in this one. There is an instant cap as well. If you get over 13, you'll be DQ'd. Now, because it's shorter, because they want to encourage drivers, obviously, to work hard to finish well in that feature race, there's fewer points on tap, only 20 for a win. So 12 fewer than a win over in the feature race. And it only pays down to that 16th spot. So you got to work a little bit harder to get points, but at the same time, there's a lot more risk in this situation to get those fewer points, which is why I keep saying the consistency is probably more important.
We talked about it in the opening to the feature race where Gio Cortese was able to do the double. Usually we might start thinking about it here with a small field, Kessler only having to go through 15 other drivers to get the win. Unfortunately, passing here is so tough, and he is starting behind Rene Oosterkamp. That alone will be a tall order.
Yeah, and we saw Oosterkamp last week made a big mistake late in the race. Probably could have just accepted some good points and then threw it away, trying to get through more cars hastily. And that's really going to hurt today. He might not just wind up with a 9th place, Bill. He might wind up with no points. And that's exactly what he doesn't want with Kessler at this point. He wants to keep Kessler from gaining anything on him.
I expect corners 1 and 2 to be okay unless somebody makes a mistake in front of the herd. Going down into 3, that could be interesting on the very first lap. A lot of drivers are going to be ducking down in there trying to get something to happen, and there's just not a lot of room to leave room for, well, 2 wide is all I want to see going into that corner.
You might still get some 3 wide. Who knows? It all depends. And again, that comes down to a driver's philosophy and trust in their abilities and trust with those around you. I have to admit, I'm much more of a timid driver, especially at the start of races. I tend to kind of let things play out, see how things are before I stick my nose in, especially if things start to go 3 wide. So some of those drivers, you might see that. Some who really think that they know how to handle those around them, they could send it up the inside. They could try and take multiple spots. And the upside to doing that at the start of these races is that that's less time spent being stuck behind those slower cars. That's more positions you can make up and the potential to do the double. So it's a risk-reward scenario, weighting that to see which you really feel is worth it. And especially this late in the season if you're trying to points race. And I'm kind of curious to see who's going to do what, especially since last round, Bill, we did see some carnage at the start of the races.
Boy, we sure did. Christopher Rigby expected to start on the pole. We mentioned it before we went to break. Evan Emre prides himself on racing well in these sprint races. He'll be up front. Would not be surprised to see him lead some laps before the bigger names try to get around him.
And again, this is a good place to try and defend hard because it is so tough to try and overtake. So if Emre gets up to the lead early, I expect him to maybe, try and make that car pretty wide when he gets people coming up upon him, especially if it gets late in the race and he sees that none of the fast guys have caught him yet.
Another name that may be underachieved in the feature race is Gio Cortese. He just made a lot of mistakes, had the car in the wall at least twice that I saw. Nevertheless, he still got a pretty good finish, so watch for him to get up there quickly as well. Yeah,
Cortese has made a few mistakes this race, though, so he's going to have to buckle down. And he's made a few mistakes in some of the other races, too. He obviously did the double, but I don't know. I don't have complete faith in him yet, if I'm honest. He's really got to prove himself a few more times to be consistent before I think that he'll be able to really get good results here.
A big name that we didn't hear anything from because he ran into early trouble. Joe talked about it. Gary Nolden. Now, he'll be starting behind Osterkamp and Kessler because he was not in the regrid position. Nevertheless, though, he could be somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, but the number of cars that he has to go through, especially with Osterkamp starting ahead of him by a number of places, Nolden's probably got to play damage control, especially if he's thinking championship-wise, because he's got to protect against Kessler. Kessler now has a really good chance to gain a whole bunch of points. He's only 10 behind Kerry Nolden. Both of them have 0 drop points. So with Kerry scoring none in the last round, now he's really got to try and score some this round.
Let's go ahead and bring up the weather. We didn't take a look at that in the first race. We'll show you that. It's the same weather that we had before. As I said, pretty darn pleasant. Actually, you couldn't ask for really any more better racing conditions than that. Little bit of wind.
Yeah, slight bit. Again, they should be used to it by now. Maybe was catching them out at the start of the first race because, again, those winds can cause issues with the downforce of these cars since they're so dependent on the grip in certain places. If it's a tailwind coming off of a corner, that's where you see cars getting loose.
Remember, there is no qualifying. They're just out there practicing right now. The grid will be determined by the results of the feature race. I can report Christopher Rigby is out on the track.
Doesn't mean he's going to take the grid, though.
That's true. Oh, I have faith. Everyone's going to take the grid here. Okay, practice is done. As soon as iRacing populates that grid, we'll give it to you. And there it is. Sure enough, Christopher Rigby and Leonard Sherry going to make up the front row. Sherry's pretty quick. Loic Barbie, we've seen him be fast as well. David Santana, row 2. Evan Emre, look for him to get up to the front. He's going to be inside of Connor Ryan. Ryan has potential to get there. Ali Hay, that's Joe's pick to get there. David Butlar in 8th. Lubomir Morris, fast. Gio Cortese in 10th, Joe.
11th is Alexei Sorokin with Phil Reed. Another one I think to kind of watch, starting from 12th. Dominic Gatormeyer in 13th with Renee Osterkamp 14th. And our winner last round, Patrick Kessler, starting 15th. Urka Lindstrom, P16. Tom Van Hoyman, 17th. Luke Barton, 18th. And Daniel Morris, 19th. Then it looks like we're missing one. Tim Matsky, 20th. Elaine Tessier, 21st. And Kerry Nolden, tail in Charlie.
That was sincere commentary as we went through the grid. That's one of the few times when I went through and said, that guy's good. Hey, that guy's got a chance. This is going to be fun. I don't know how this is going to play out right now. Christopher Rigby up in front. He's going to be in control of the field. You hear those engines start to rev. Oh, I think a jump from Sherry. I think he's jumped the chart. He's going to have to take a stop and go. That's going to move Christopher Rigby out in front. Let's see what Sherry does. Sherry is challenged on the outside for that position, and it's going to go. He's going to hang on to it.
Oh, no.
Loic Barbie in 3rd. Go ahead.
We got a few cars tipped. And it looks like the worst of that is Connor Ryan, who's on his lid. That was a lot less worse than I thought it would be because everybody saw it coming backed up. But still, many drivers kind of had a sort of train scenario where they just chunked into each other from behind.
Santana involved in it. Butlar involved in it. Gatormeyer. No, it wasn't Gatormeyer. The other one was Gio Cortese involved in that one as well.
Oh, and Elaine Tessier had an incident in turn 3, pulled across the track, and poor David Boudoir thought that he would stay put and just ran into him when he came across the track trying to get going again.
Okay, so here's what's up in front. It's Christopher Rigby. He is being challenged, and look at that. Sherry either missed his braking point or realized that he had to make a stop and go. I'm not sure what happens, but he's blown it from 2nd position. So that turns it over now. 2nd is going to be to Loic Barbie. Lubomir Morris, there's a big name, now in 3rd.
Yeah, Lubomir is looking really handy to maybe take this away. He's got to play it cool, though. He's got a little bit of a gap to the cars ahead. Same thing with Rigby. Really needs to stay calm now that he's got a huge gap to the cars behind. 2 seconds is pretty nice, especially considering Loic Barbie probably won't be gathering up time on him that quickly.
Yeah, I would think that Morris is going to have a hard time getting around Barbie. That could be Rigby's biggest friend right now as the driver in 2nd. It's Morris and Sorokin, the 2 positive SimRacing green drivers teamed up in 3rd and 4th. Gatormeyer, we saw what he could do. He finished 3rd. He's in 5th right now. A pass on the inside. Kessler gets around Hay. Here comes your feature race winner.
And critically, Osterkamp followed him through. Very smart stuff seeing what his teammate was doing and finding the hole and getting by Hay so that he doesn't lose track of him. And we have a lot of cars that have hit the pit lane because of those opening incidents. Cortese, Sherry, Morris, Tessier, Santana, Ryan, and Butalar have all come in. Only 2 came out, Sherry and Cortese.
Okay, the battle I want to go to is for second because I think it's going to get heating up really quick. The gap is 0.7 of a second. Lubomir Morris is coming, and he's bringing his teammate with him, Alexei Sorokin. They're working on Loic Barbie.
As we watch this, let's see if a pass happens down into 3. But after that, I think we got that replay spooled up of the turn 2 incident. Ooh, looking down on the inside. Morris is starting to try on Barbie in really unusual places down into 1. I didn't think that was going to go off.
Let's see what type of run he gets out of 2. He's about 2 car lengths back.
Yeah, he ruined his corner exit. He really should have just waited. I think he's going to have a go. Nope, he was gaining at the end there.
We'll get you that replay in just a minute, but let's see if he does something down into the Fountain section now.
All he's got to do is stay close, focus on the exit. Don't focus on the attack on the entry. Set yourself up, think ahead. And this time he does. Beautiful, smooth exit. He is well within the slipstream. Loic is certainly not going to be sitting in this position at the end of this straightaway, if you ask me.
He tries to play defense, but cannot. The pass is made by Morris, but not from Sorokin. Gatermeyer, it's not far back to Kessler now. Kessler is in the shouting distance of these guys.
That's starting to back up a little bit as they get a train forming, including Kessler and Osterkamp really gaining ground and very, very fast. We have not chopped off hardly any time in this race at all, and they are only 5 seconds back from the leader overall.
Yep. 3 seconds Rigby has over Morris, but Morris is clear of anybody in the way. There's the pass now as Sorokin just gets under. Did he get it? Yeah, he did. Yeah. Sorokin got underneath Barbie, yeah.
He did what Lubomir could not. Nicely done. And that actually slowed him up as Gatermeyer's going to have a chance at Barbie.
Gatermeyer on the inside. Oh, and look back behind. Is that...
That's Kessler.
Yeah.
He was having to defend from Osterkamp. It did give him an opportunity. He got to the inside of Loic here. Both of them sneaked through, but honestly, that could have been a whole lot worse for those teammates, duking it out for that position.
Tip of the hat to Loic Barbie, racing hard but racing clean, and the guys get around him. So here's what's up. We're about maybe get to that first lap replay now. 2.7 seconds is Rigby over Morris. Morris is closing. He's got Sorokin in 3rd. He's going to follow him through. Gatermeyer, we know how tough he is. He's in 4th. Boy, he's having a good day. Kessler and Osterkamp 5th and 6th.
Yeah, now the going gets a little bit harder for our winner and 2nd place driver. As we take a look at the replay of all that action.
This is the one that took out Cortese, the biggest name of all.
Actually, this is Sherry's incident that we're watching outbreaking himself. That's got to be disappointing. Got it. The other one.
The one.
Here's,
now we'll go up to. Here's the start.
So let's see. We're on Gatermeyer. I'm trying to remember who started this all. I want to say Connor Ryan was the one that ended up on his lid. He's going to be classified dead last and 22nd because of that. But you see a checkup. Oh yeah, he was 3 wide here. A little bit of tip between these 2 cars ahead of him. One overcorrects, winds up in front of him. That's what sends him tumbling.
And the cars that were stuck on the outside had nowhere to go as they were pinned on that outside lane. They just nose to tail into each other. Now we're back live. That lead has been cut to 2.2 seconds with just over 18 minutes to go. Christopher Rigby out in front. Lubomir Morris coming, bringing Alexei Sorokin with him. Dominic Gatermeyer in 4th. Now, if Kessler and Osterkamp think that that's going to be an easy path to the front, they got another thing coming because Dominic Gatermeyer is one hard customer to get around.
They're certainly taking their time, which is a good thing. Remember, I mentioned what happened in Zandvoort. These guys probably have that fresh in their memory, thinking, all right, let's not make any stupid moves. We're not that far behind the leader. In fact, they're gaining time on the leader behind these guys. So all they have to do is play their cards right, get to the end, and they'll at least have a podium on their hands, I'm pretty sure, by the pace that we're looking at.
Morris has cut the lead to under 2 seconds now. All right, now we're looking at 7th position. This is the next train back.
Reed and Loic tight there, and poor Reed just gave it a little bit too much brake too late into turn 3, so he wasn't able to get done over Loic. Look how, wow, he is, oh, and he tips him just slightly. Poor Loic tries to come back to the racing line, and he might have made contact with Barton.
Yeah, I did. That was not Reed that turned him around. Loic got loose. Reed just helped him go around.
Might have been slight ghost contact too to it. What a shame.
Gotta try it one more time.
Look at this great defense as we watched on board with Loic there, coming through 3, confident on the power, outguns him. And you'd think he's got him at least for a few more corners. But for some reason, this happened to me a lot too. Turn 5, Bill, it's just the car gets surprisingly loose through there. I'm not sure if it's the bumps or the way the car enters or what, but it's so easy to let the rear just swap ends on you.
Let's go to 5th right now. Kessler makes a mistake out of 2, and his teammate Rene Oosterkamp is going to try to capitalize on it, and Rene gets it. Move him up into 5th. Now here comes Kessler coming back.
Up into 3, guys. Stay safe here. This is your teammate. Don't throw it away. Wow. Kessler gave it a good go, but turn 3 or turn 4 is surprisingly fast. You hardly brake for that corner, so he had to hold on to it hard. And Oosterkamp said, no way. You beat me to the punch on the first race. I'm not going to do the same thing on the second one.
Well, Kessler and Stefan Herman can get together and share a beer because they can both relate to what it's like being behind. That's Christopher Rigby from the lead.
Christopher. And that was all on his own. I did this one as well. This turn 8, the first left-hander in the fountain section is another one where the car just gets loose, and you're surprised because it's such a slow corner, and it feels pitiful for the rest of it because you can't stop it from there. It's just going, and then you can't get it turned around on top of it.
Well, he had a good run while it lasted. So, Lubomir Morris now inherits the lead for now. Here comes his teammate, Alexei Sorokin. We have a new leader into 3. It's the Russian driver as those Positive SimRacing green drivers swap spots. Sorokin ahead of Morris.
And I kind of don't blame him, even though that slowed them down a little bit. If Alexei thinks he's got pace, he needs to run away now, because right behind Dominic is Oosterkamp and Kessler, ready to take positions.
This is going to be fun. I expect that Sorokin and Morris should be faster than Gatormeyer. Gatormeyer has a really wide car, though, right now. Oosterkamp seeing if he can do anything with him. Kessler, the feature race winner, back in 5th.
Bill, is it chaotic enough for you? Because I got some news.
What's up?
They're coming up on David Boudelaar, and fast.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
this train of cars is going to get some traffic.
This is a hard place to hide your car, too.
He's really got to hope that they catch him on the straight going up to 3 or on the back stretch down to 7.
Kessler beginning to lose touch. Let's see what type of run Oosterkamp can get off of 2 compared to Herman. Ooh, considerably better.
Yeah.
He's a car length back.
I think he's going to send it. I think this is the closest. Oh, wow. No, he's not. Albert thought that was one of his best opportunities we've seen. But this is a changed Oosterkamp. He's just biding his time. He does have 13 minutes, so I guess he took a glance at the clock and decided that he'll have better chances down the line.
This is where it's the dynamic of the sprint race, which is unique to AOR. Oosterkamp, if this was a normal race, he could take his time, but he's got to worry about Sorokin getting away. Oosterkamp would still like to win this thing. He'd like to get done with Gatormeyer and then take a shot at those two guys, those two PSR green guys ahead of him.
Yeah, but he might have been noticing that those guys aren't running away, so he's not losing a whole lot by just waiting patiently for another lap.
Heck no, look at this. Dominic Gatormeyer's going to have a run. Morris makes a mistake. Gatormeyer's not going to be able to do it. He's got to make sure that he's still working on it, though. Oh, he's going to lose momentum. Now that's going to give Oosterkamp an opportunity.
Wow, that was gutsy. Morris did give him space. There goes the lap traffic. And I think he's got it done now.
Gatormeyer gets up into second. Oosterkamp trying to follow suit. No, what great racing.
Yeah, but look at that over-under. Wow, that was great racecraft from Renee. Just set him up and sold him a dummy. He knew that he was going to be pinched on that second half of the corner. Here comes his teammate following him.
Oh, poor Lubomir Morris. Just a second ago, he was racing in second. Now he finds himself in fifth.
Renee, if that wasn't intentional, don't tell me afterwards, because that looked beautiful. Just set him up so perfectly and made it easy.
Alexei Sorokin, 2.5 seconds on Dominic Gatormeyer. Starting to pull away.
Though. Yeah, but that's quite a bit of time. Oh, Gatormeyer! Gatormeyer with a problem. Oh, and he gets run into. Who was that? That was Phil Reed. Phil Reed, who was making great progress.
Oh. Poor Gatormeyer did all he could. He just kept the car there. Reed, boom. Maybe
this is a great illustration.
Yeah.
And you could see he was trying to whip the car around after the spin. It actually hit the wall because of it. But Dominic's a pretty good driver. And even he, compared to someone like Christopher Rigby, who obviously may not have nearly the same skill as him, still succumbed to what looked like an easy avoidable incident.
So with Reed out of the way, this puts a battle with Ali Hay and Luke Barton. We have not heard much about Barton today.
It started from 18th. He was one of the ones that was not re-grid. Making up for a miserable first race with some nice points here in the second one.
We can afford to stay on this battle. The ones up in front have kind of separated themselves a bit. Let's see what Luke can do. We talked about Kerry Nolden, don't need to go there, but right behind these guys is Kerry Nolden in 7th.
Yeah, Luke Barton's actually got a fair bit of pace over Ali Hay, I believe, looking at the lap time. They start fighting, though. Nolden behind them is going to really chomp down on them pretty quickly, so they got to be careful about how they fight, or else they'll both lose the position.
Let's see what type of run Barton can. I don't think he's going to get there before 1. Let's see what kind of run he gets off of 2. See if he can make a dive into 3.
It was pretty a decent run, but I don't think he's quite close enough here. Yeah, see, he just decides to stay in line. Actually almost gets into the back of him under braking. Got to be careful about that, especially if the car ahead of you loses control.
I'm just going to give you these numbers, but you can see it on the top line of your screen if you want to see the interval between the leaders. You can see that it's 1.5 seconds from Sorokin back to Oosterkamp. Hay and Barton, the one we're watching, the best battle on the track.
Yeah, I'm keeping half an eye on both. Wow, he took a lot of curb there, did Barton. You can kind of do that coming into that fountain section, but I generally tried not to clip them too much, maybe just a light tap. Any more than that, you're starting to risk the car.
We can stay here. This is not only the best, maybe the only battle on the track right now until Osterkamp gets up on the back of Sorokin. Hey, with a pretty good run out of the final corner.
It is the closest, and actually that's significant because remember, Kessler and Osterkamp weren't too far apart when they got by. Well, Osterkamp has actually dropped Kessler since he's been freed, so Kessler might have lost an opportunity to do the double.
I honestly can't figure out that dynamic this race. Osterkamp led the feature, then Kessler was able to snake him in on the pit stops and then run away from him. And now, right now, here's Kessler again being really strong. Osterkamp being strong.
Some of that might be down to a combination of setup and how you race the car. It could be a case where Kessler burned up his tires, just used them up, overheated them, and now doesn't have any pace left, and that's why he's dropping off. Because remember, for the most part, we saw Kessler ahead of Osterkamp for part of that, trying to lead the charge. So maybe he was fighting through, and Osterkamp was saving his stuff, just kind of squeezing through those passes and following suit.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the two-time champion, Renault Osterkamp, is coming, and coming in a hurry on Sorokin. He is closing this gap.
And last time was a whole 7/10 faster. Let's see what this time by holds for them. It's a 24.3 for Sorokin. He picked up the pace a little bit. And a 24.1. Osterkamp slowed a little bit, so that was not as dramatic.
Just a tick over 6 minutes of racing to go.
Martin's not giving up on Hay, that's for sure. You can see them there as we focus the cameras. Hay's doing a good job just defensive driving, focusing on his marks and holding that gap over Luke. We've seen this multiple times, Bill. That's really all you got to do. Just deny the opportunity to get close, and nobody can overtake you.
And avoid making mistakes, which has been many times the way the cars have gotten around the car in front.
I've always done a little bit better at tracks like this just because consistency tends to be my friend in racing than raw speed. So I just always try to race the track, not the other drivers. And places like Bathurst and here, I've found good results. Laguna Seca, for some reason, has always treated me well, because that one tends to swallow a lot of drivers before the end.
That's a fun track, and this series will be going there for the season finale. Let's look back up on the leaders. The gap has closed again, and now it's getting to the point where we really can't get away from this one too much, as Osterkamp is in striking distance now. Once he closes up a bit more, he can choose where he wants to make the attack.
And that gap that he put over Patrick Kessler is critical, because remember, they're going to lose a little bit of time if they start fighting. If Patrick was right behind him, there's a chance that he could lose that lead just by making a maneuver. So René is sitting in a very good position, but he can't wait too long, because now that he's caught him, Kessler is gaining a little bit at a time.
Absolutely. You can see the timer up in the upper left corner, 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
So now he's got to be a thinker's driver once again. We've already seen him do it once coming out of 1 and 2. This is where he's got to use that knowledge. Set himself up. Look for the launch off of turn 2 over the hump, and you'll get the best chance of any. Now, Sorokin knows this too. He knows the two main places where he's going to pass, so he's going to make it as difficult as possible. Did he hit the wall? Did Osterkamp touch the wall coming out of 12?
He's lost a lot of time. We're going to take a look on the replay.
Quick glance there. If it was just the slightest touch, at least from my view, let's watch on board.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oof. Let's hope that doesn't hurt his speed. Oh, and Luke Barton is in the pits with a lot of damage. Oh, no. Luke Barton had actually gotten past Ali Hay.
Out of the final corner.
This was maybe about 50 seconds ago. And that car wound up on its lid. Yeah, watch out of 13. Oh, he was already loose, struggling. And this isn't a hot track, so I'm kind of surprised to see some drivers having trouble with that. Just as soon as he found that wall, it was very difficult to control it, and the tires gripped at the wrong time and went into a spin. Now, the good news is, Bill, when we get the new damage model, we should see a lot less of that because the tires can actually come off the cars, which is what would have happened in real life.
Going to lose a little bit of the energy is going to be dissipated. Oh, so Raikkonen, I think, did he just put it in the wall? Maybe. I think it's okay. I saw Sorokin get really close, and then I heard it.
Lead is changing hands. Oosterkamp made it work before he even got to turn 1.
I think that was a Sorokin suffering damage. I think he did put it in the wall.
Let's take a look at that one. Just been a killer today, this section.
Right here. That's where I thought he might have got it. He got it. Oh, there he gets it there, too. Yeah. 2
times. I'm amazed he's keeping as good a pace as he is. Kessler hasn't run him down yet.
No, Kessler was not able to close even when they were battling. So, with a minute and a half to go, René Oosterkamp out in front.
And
it'll be a good points day for him.
Yeah, a good day for Oosterkamp, but a better day for Kessler, because I think even if Kessler finishes in this 3rd position, I think he'll still outscore René.
1st and 3rd is better than 2nd and 1st, if that makes sense.
Because, yeah, Kessler took the win in the feature, which is worth more. So Kessler could push the issue, but if he's points racing, which he actually, if I say that, he does kind of need to push the issue, because if he's points racing, he still has to run down Oosterkamp. So he probably does want to get by Sorokin, but he doesn't need to be worried as we get the white flag, Bill.
And there are bonus points for being the pole sitter in the feature race, so he'll pick those up. They also get for fastest laps and being clean. Oosterkamp, your leader. Sorokin in 2nd. Kessler in 3rd.
Man, Ali Hay can't catch a break because he survived Luke Barton, but here comes Kerry Nolden on that charge through, which Kerry is going to get some points if he can finish where he is or in 5th. He's well into the points at this point.
Both of those drivers had a good view of Luke Barton doing his gymnastics down the front straight.
He's got a good run, but I don't think he's close enough.
We might need to check in on 2nd because Kessler has cut up to the back of Sorokin. All this going on about a 2nd behind the leader. Oh my goodness. Here comes Kessler. And Sorokin fends him off. Kessler goes underneath. As that's going on, they hit. Oosterkamp gets the win.
But Kessler's upside down.
Sorokin limps it home. Kessler's not going to finish. Sorokin gets nipped at the line because 2nd place is going to go to Lubomir Morris.
And Sorokin actually was trying to limp to the line.
Yes, Sorokin, yes.
And got hit by Ali Hay trying to avoid him. Or no, excuse me, Nolden.
Kerry Nolden goes right into the back of him. We can just follow. If we can find the Kessler, then we can follow it all the way through. So what's on Kessler?
I don't blame Sorokin for going defensive into 12, but that's really what set this up, Bill. Is that defensive move put him a little bit offline. He was slow coming off the corner. Nolden knew it. He tried the over-under. And then at that point, Sorokin knew it was all or nothing, so he just kept his foot in it. Well, that meant he plowed into the wall and took them both out.
If we can stay on away from the onboard camera here, and we'll watch these guys get together.
Well, they didn't get together until after he hit the wall, though.
Now, if you pan up to Sorokin just a little bit ahead, you can see him try to wobble the car up. Now Morris goes by. Ali Hay is going to go by. And that's Nolden, who gets into the back and actually crosses the finish line going sideways. Nolden gets fourth. Sorokin is putted across in fifth. All of that behind René Oosterkamp, who gets the win. Where did Kessler actually get scored when it was all said and done? Kessler had to settle. First car, 1 lap down in 12th. All right, the racing is over. It's definitely over here at Detroit, but our broadcast isn't done. We'll come back and we'll run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers, and then put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. Sanctioned by the good folks at Apex Online Racing, this is the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. It's round 10 from Detroit. Both the sprint and feature races are in the books. Let's give you the finishing order of the sprint race that you just saw. My goodness, it was exciting. He was re-grid in 14th position. He worked his way through the field around his teammate, Patrick Kessler, up into the lead. And it is René Oosterkamp as he gets the win in the sprint race. Lubomir Morris was up and down the order. He's going to get second. Ali Hay manages to survive the chaos for the final podium position. Kerry Nolden goes up 18 positions for fourth. Alexei Sorokin is punted across the line. He gets fifth. Dominic Gatermeyer behind him in sixth. Erka Lindstrom, Gio Cortese, Phil Reed, and Evan Emre round out your top 10, Joe.
Well, despite getting turned around, Christopher Rigby still gets 11th. And Patrick Kessler, as we mentioned, the first car finishing a lap down because of him winding up on his lid on the final lap, which I think means he actually won't win the best of day today. David Santana will be 13th with David Boudelard finishing 14th. First car 2 laps down. Luke Barton I believe was DNF'd. Yes, DNF'd. 15th, Tom Van Hoyman, same thing. 16th, Loic Barbie, 17th. Tim Maskey, 18th. Leonard Sherry, 19th. And Connor Ryan, 20th. Last two cars are Daniel Morris, 21st. And Elaine Tessier, 22nd. Bill?
We don't have any front runners to talk to, but we do have David Boutelar in the interview booth, so maybe I'm going to get a chance to talk to him. And we'll see what David has to say here in a second. David didn't have a great sprint race win, but David did do well in the feature race. David, why don't we talk about that one first? Congratulations on, I thought, a really clean feature race.
Thank you very much to put me on the show. Yeah, I had 0 incidents, so it was very good, the race.
Did you? I thought I saw you maybe brush the wall a couple times. Was iRacing kind? It didn't count that, or am I wrong? Did you not hit the wall?
I did hit the wall, but it was nothing, actually.
You did it just gently enough that iRacing didn't care. I thought Detroit, boy, it was awfully hard to pass, easy to defend. Did you have any battles today?
Yeah, I had some couple of battles in the beginning of the race, in the feature race, and but it was not a heavy battle. It was just the battle of the timetable. I watched it. Every time you need to find your rhythm and to find time every corner. So it's very difficult.
What got you in the sprint race? Why 2 laps down? Were you caught up in one of those incidents?
First lap incident was the third corner.
Right.
I chose to go right because I thought maybe they would pile up in the middle, but I had no chance.
You had no chance. Detroit is very unforgiving. Hey, congratulations on a nice feature race. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you for broadcast.
David Boutelar, always fun to talk to him.
And looks like we've got Kerry Nolden ready to talk to us for finishing 4th place in this race. I bet you didn't expect to finish there, Kerry, and especially not flying through the air.
That's always a first for something, I guess. Yeah, that was a nice race. It was clean all the way through. There wasn't really too many overtakes. It was kind of more just picking up the pieces. It's so difficult to just keep the car in the straight line, really, around here. So I was on course for, I think, 6th or 7th, I think, with about 5 minutes to go. Luke had his incident. And I kind of had a sniff at Ali and kind of thought, 5th, I'll take where I'm at. I was started right at the back, and 6th, I think, was a good result. Then obviously the 2 guys ahead had their incident, and yeah, I had to pick a side fast because I saw the car limping, and I thought I could catch this guy. But he's obviously pulling to the left, but he's trying to steer to the right, so his car's going left, right. And I have to make a decision, just a snap decision, just decide where to go. And I just kind of got caught in 2 minds and planted it right in the back of him. So, yeah, it was cool. It was certainly one of my more unique overtakes. I won't forget that in a hurry anyway.
I'm sure. Now, we didn't get to see it on replay, but we did see that you had an incident in turn 6, which set you back at the very back of the field for this sprint race, back in the feature. Were you surprised by that, or had you experienced that before, where you clipped that inside wall?
I had one moment in practice, and I had no other moments at all. So at that corner, I should say, there was plenty of moments around the laps, but turn 6 was never really much of a problem in practice. So yeah, I was pretty annoyed, especially early on lap 2. But I mean, it didn't really matter. I had a penalty for the sprint race to start at the back anyway, so I guess it didn't affect my position there. But I lost some big points in the championship as a result. So, but I'm just grateful to even finish a race. To even finish 4th in one of them was a huge win for me, really. I think, given my pace.
Well, and you're going to have to keep this setup on the car too, because you're heading to another very bumpy track over in Sebring. Do you feel confident now that you've had some experience with the car needing to take all those bumps?
Yeah, I think it's the proximity, I think, of the walls kind of around you, really, that kind of your right foot's trying to lift off a bit more in some of the corners. So I think Sebring is not too big a deal. It's a nice wide open track. Part of it's bumpy, but then you've got a lot of it is, you know, it's laid out like a proper racetrack. So it should be a good race over there, and I'm looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to it as well. Congratulations on a great recovery drive here in the sprint. We'll see you in a week.
See you soon.
Bill?
And now we're going to wrap up. We're going to get to talk to Tom Van Hoyman, who my guess is, Tom, you're happy to have Detroit in your rearview mirror. Good to get out of this place?
Yeah, I don't like the track at all. It's such a miserable track for me. I didn't got that much practice in, but when I got practice in, I was not getting quicker, so I was doing 25.2 at my fastest, and I was really slow. And yeah, it's just one mistake and you're gone, you know. I was doing okay in the sprint race, a couple of laps in, but I took the corner too fast. I believe it was at the back of the track. I took it too fast, and that was the wall. So I was in P12 at that moment, or P13. So yeah, maybe I could have got top 10, but yeah, the track is just too. I'm going to be honest. The track is just too difficult for me. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, next up is Sebring. So I'm really looking forward to it, because I've done many laps there with different cars and with the Formula Renault as well. And yeah, my future race was just over after 3 laps. In the first corner, I cut the curb, took Urka and Tim as well. It was a big crash because Tim was going in the air. So my apologies for that. There was no saving on the car. But yeah, looking forward to Sebring. It's a good track for me. Laguna Seca as well. So I'm going for a good end of the season.
Okay, well, we'll be here to watch it. Good luck when you go to Florida.
Thank you.
Tom Van Hoyman, you know, after a great run that he had last time out at Zandvoort, where he finished 8th and 10th, he was looking to double up on that. What a difference a week can make. He was not happy here in Detroit. We're going to stay in the USA, though, as we're going to go over to Sebring next round. That's going to wrap it up for us, folks. So let's thank the people that made this possible. How about we start with everybody at Apex Online Racing for organizing this series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast. We appreciate the love that you guys are showing us. Thanks to the company's equipment and software you see on the screen right now that we use to stream Striver Space into your place. The original music comes courtesy of Eric Eckelman and June Lalonde. See the screen to how to contact each of them. We talked about it. Well, now here it's officially Formula Renault. Well, it's going to come back next week. And that's going to be round 11. That's going to be, now this is interesting, no doubleheader. This is a single race event, one of these rare 60-minute races. So you'll want to tune in for that one. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit globalsimracingchannel.com or check us out on social media. We have lots of choices. Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to the YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Joe, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching, as it was, let's see, who won the feature? It was Patrick Kessler winning the feature and Renee Osterkamp, his teammate, winning the sprint. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.